Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm here with my friend Rob Ski, and we've decided to make another video about the C39 V2. If you follow Rob's channel, you'll know that he's currently testing a C39 V2, and if you don't follow AK Operators Union, get off your duff and go. I'll put a link down below. Go check him out. But he's currently testing his C39 V2. And where are you at with your testing, man?
We are standing at 3,500 rounds, and I have a little bit newer version of the C39 because mine has the mounted by Century Arms side
Okay.
but everything is basically the same.
So yeah, this is an older rifle. I've had this for a while. We've run it suppressed pretty much its entire life. So if you've seen previous videos with the rifle, the carbon was running down the side of the gun. But we cleaned this rifle up. We did a live broadcast, and we were talking about Century products being hit or miss in quality. But what we didn't do at the time was to clean the gun, because I just got to keep running it dirty and dry. Well, we cleaned the gun up and we made some discoveries. What did we discover,
Yes,
man?
absolutely. And for the record, I was shooting that gun with Tim, I think it was like last year too, suppressed.
Yep.
So absolutely, gun was functioning and everything. But guys, like after cleaning the guards, we have discovered the microfracture cracks on the right side over here. This is that side of the receiver which is interacting directly with the bolt.
If you look on the right side locking lug, you can just see a crack forming right there. It's about 80 thousandths long, and I can feel it with the tip of the scribe. It looks like a scratch in the finish, but that's after we wiped it clean, and that's an actual crack forming right at the bottom of the lug.
And another bad thing was we have run the set of the gauges, and on the no-go gauge, that rifle closes absolutely without any stress. You're just pushing the bolt carrier forward and it's closing on the no-go gauge. So we are back to the Tim's C39 version 2, and surprise, surprise, we actually cleaned the rifle to see the internal guards, and we made some scary discoveries. You can see the progression of the deformation, and we have decided at this point to bring the no-go and the field gauge to see what's going to happen. So I have no-go gauge loaded on the bolt, and just like we do in our videos, let me push it on the no-go gauge, and boom, it closes on the no-go gauge. One more time so you guys can see it. There's no effort almost, and boom, rifle closes on no-go gauge, and that's not a good sign.
No.
So let's bring the field gauge right now, and the difference between the field gauge and no-go gauge is the field gauge is like the ultimate test.
Right.
If the rifle will close on the field gauge, that definitely means do not take it to the
You're
range.
gonna have problems, and we're technically passing. It's just right on the line. It's stopping it just before it wants to start to cam into battery.
Okay, we are, oh, he moved a little bit on the field gauge, but I cannot close it. Let me pull it one more time. And you can feel the carrier is moving because it's starting to cam, but it's not doing. So Chase, let's take a measurement. We'll go to the range because it didn't close on the field gauge yet. We'll try to put some rounds through it, and we'll see if we'll continue to lose the head spacing.
And we're stopping right around 425.
425, 425. So I'll take Tim with me to the range, guys, and we'll put some rounds down the pipe. We'll see what's going to happen. We did test it on the field gauge, and it's still resisting to close on the field gauge, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to push some rounds down the pipe and see what that gap is after shooting another 1,000+ rounds down the pipe. There you go, Tim. I'm tired. He's a pro.
Bump stocks my rear end. We're gonna get the popo out here.
Wow.
I have my rate increasing device going.
Okay,
All right, she's starting to burn.
Pull up. One more mag.
One more mag.
One more mag.
Dude,
Yep.
is that... Look at that ring right there.
Yeah, it all. No, the ring is cool, but look how this moved. Maybe it was like this.
The hand guards.
The handguard is.
That's a
Do you
smell of
think the
walnut
guy-
burning.
Yeah. This is cheap wood. This is very cheap wood.
Is it
That's
cheap?
normal.
Okay.
Yeah, that's normal.
One more and then we'll let it cool off.
Okay.
All right. Let's let it cool off.
Yep. So we waited a little bit. Rifle is absolutely cold to touch right now, and I can do that with my cheek. So there you go. It's really cold, and we'll go back to shooting. We went through 8 magazines. Tim is doing a fantastic job of really bump firing that thing, so it goes really fast. But as you guys can see, we really do watch the temperature, and we don't want to overheat the system. So let me go back to shooting. And watch out. Yep. This is going to kill my finger. It's a 40 rounder. Tim!
I'm here. Here, you keep
Oh,
that.
yeah,
Give me
I'll
this.
keep that.
Here we go.
Bump firing master.
Ooh, my paratrooper mag. All right.
After that one.
Yeah, let's let it cool.
Yep,
It's
got it.
it's
Yep,
on fire.
yep.
All right. Another cool off session, guys.
Okay, 490 rounds down the pipe. We have a field gauge on the bay bolt, and we'll try to test it right now. So the field gauge, it's still not closing on the field gauge. However, upon closer inspection, and hopefully you can pick it up on the right side,
I'll get that.
on the right side, you can see right here. We have right now the crack on that right side, the chip, the piece of the metal is missing, and you can compare it to the footage which we did before coming out to the field, and you can clearly see that the chunk of the metal is gone right now on that right side, and that's just from the shooting 490 rounds.
All right, guys, so we took the gun apart, cleaned it up a little bit, and took a look at that right shoulder lug, and we looked at the bolt and some other things, and as Rob mentioned, we're starting to see some pretty heavy damage on that right hand locking lug, but we're still showing safe with the field gauge, so the testing continues. You'll notice I'm holding the gun sideways now because I've lost faith in that locking lug. Have you seen that before,
Yeah.
Rob? It's something sticking, man.
It's getting close. So mag for mag, be hard on the top.
It's not as easy to bump fire when you're holding the rifle sideways.
Okay, the last mag maybe.
Okay.
Break.
All right.
How is it hot?
We can go a little further. No smoke.
Yeah, no smoke.
No smoke, no fire, no stop.
There you go. Alright,
It's on fire.
yep, that's it.
Okay. Stop and put the fire out.
Okay, so from shooting we are getting more and more movement of the lower handguard, and as you can guys see, moves basically. The wood is getting, this is that balsa wood which I was talking about in my videos. This is the low quality wood on the stock and on the handguard. And if you have those rifles, I would strongly advise you to upgrade to the regular surplus wood. Just ditch that. It's horrible. But as you can see, look, just from shooting what's happening, guys.
All right, guys, so we have 770 rounds through this thing. And how does it gauge out right now on the field gauge?
It's still not closing on the field gauge, so it's still safe to use, and we'll continue with the test. Tim, it's all yours. Just keep that chamber away.
We took a look at that shoulder, guys, and it's looking pretty rough. We've got a chip and we have that crack, which you guys can see now. There's a crack that runs the full length, but we're kind of banking on the fact that it can't completely shear off because it's supported by steel behind it. We just keep pushing that surface back, but not enough to make it fail a field gauge test. So
That is correct. And
770 rounds.
And also, as far as the moisture on the rifle, this is not from the water or anything, it's just raining. So
Yeah.
that's why it's wet.
Maybe I'll let us shoot just a little bit more since it's raining. Well, actually, we only have 1,500 rounds. We're 770 rounds in, so
Yep.
this thing may make
Halfway,
it today.
Halfway there.
Want to shoot a little bit?
Yep.
One more, and I think we need to let it cool
Yep.
off. All right, let's call it quits, let her cool off. All right, guys, we've almost made it to 1,500 rounds. We just have a few more 20-round magazines to finish it off, so here we go. Ooh.
Whoop, malfunction.
All right,
There's the misfeed.
hammer back, hammer's back, we're good.
Malfunction.
Okay,
Got
go.
Yep. Very short one.
is this it?
And this is the last one. This is the last one.
Okay.
So. There you go. Last 30 rounds.
Last 30 rounds, 1,500 rounds, guys. The bump stalker's getting tired.
Whoop.
Weird.
Down.
I'm done. Give me that one round. Any other loose rounds? We're good?
We're
All
good.
right, that's it. Let's take her back to the shop and see what we got in
Yep.
terms of wear.
Take it apart and we'll see, but it survived the field test.
Yep, we had a couple of malfunctions. I don't know if that's a magazine issue or if the gun's stretching something somewhere. We don't know. But we got a couple of failures to feed. But all right, let's head
Okay.
back to the shop.
Let's go.
Okay guys, so we had taken a measurement between the carrier and the front trunnion prior to today's shooting. An additional 1,500 rounds has been put through the gun for a total of 3,000 rounds in this C39 V2. What we are seeing is that the gap between the carrier and the trunnion is closing, which would indicate that the field gauge is becoming closer to failing, and we can see that measurement right here on the gun. We are right about 406, 407, which is smaller than our 425 to 430 that we were measuring prior to shooting today.
So in the basic terms, the carrier is coming closer and closer. That gap is shrinking, and that's your safety buffer.
Yeah, and I mean, it could be just a little bit more before it actually cams completely into battery and we officially fail the field gauge. As of right now, we are failing the no-go gauge. We have the no-go gauge back in the gun, and earlier before we fired the weapon, it was technically failing the no-go. However, it took a little bit of pressure to put it into battery. What you can see now is it is camming completely into battery with significantly less pressure. We have the factory mainspring in, and as to where you wouldn't want to slam it into battery, you can show just a little bit of tension in the spring. If I walk it in, it goes right into battery with no assistance other than the gun's natural recoil spring, and by all definitions is completely failing no-go at this point in time.
Chase, let me take the recoil spring out, and I want to see it on my own eyes and feel, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's like before, guys, before I was using my thumb to push it, but right now, look, you can probably just put the finger on the top and just slide it in.
It pretty much-
This is a no-go gauge.
It pretty much just walks itself in. I would say in a couple hundred rounds, maybe in 1,000 rounds, the weight of it, if you were tilted up, would walk right in a battery on a no-go gauge.
Chase, this is not the only thing what we have noticed when shooting with Tim. If you will pull out the bolt carrier and the bolt on that right side, on the right side of for the locking lugs shoulder, you see right now we have two chunks of the metal missing. And why is this happening in your opinion?
Well, from what I can see in this gun, The carrier cam cut and the camming lug on top of the bolt were not machined correctly. They're out of timing sequence, and it is actually bottoming out the front and trying to open up the action prior to the right side lug completely clearing this. There's a bulge at the top where it's trying to fold back, and yeah, earlier today those two chips were not there. There's two chunks missing out of it. And another thing we notice is that the lugs are machined unevenly. What we actually see is that while it's inside the carrier, there's additional wear on one side of the bolt here and here, where as it's shooting, it's bottoming out in the lug and riding the carrier. The carrier is one of the only things that's actually giving us a proper field gauge pass. However, if you take the field gauge and put it into the bare bolt by itself, where the stem of the bolt is not being guided by the carrier, you can actually wiggle it and it goes to a point of failure, and you can see a gap underneath the ejector fin and the bolt is sticking up where it wouldn't naturally ride inside the carrier.
This is just mind-blowing. Chase, this is my C39 version 2, and this is equally the same damage happening on the right side of the shoulder as is on Tim's gun. And this was not present today.
No,
and yet, you know, I got 3,500 rounds, 3,000 rounds on this gun, and equal damage on both samples, right?
Yeah, before shooting today, you know, we'd gone over the gun and we had the bulging and it was just barely wanting to fail the no-go, but now it completely fails the no-go. It's failing the field only with the bolt inside, and yeah, that lug has two big chunks of material removed, and the crack on the side looks like it has grown just a little bit, and we showed that earlier prior to firing it.
And this is not even the primary locking lug, this is the secondary locking lug. I want them to see one more thing. If you could put that bolt back together, let's place the cleaning rod through the barrel. I will go to the other side and I'll push that bolt with the cleaning rod, and look guys what's happening, how that bolt is wiggling.
You see it tilting to the side.
Tilting to the side.
And from my perspective, I can see it's tilting towards the left side of the gun, meaning the bolt is uneven and the right side lug is contacting. While this inside of the carrier, it's holding it straight. All of the wear when firing it, Wilston battery with the carrier, is it being exerted to the right side lug. And the left side locking lug in an AK, this long arm on the side of the trunnion, actually has a higher shear force and is in theory the primary lug to handle the action. They have the secondary lug on the right because you don't want uneven force where it's trying to break one lug off, but this lug has a higher shear strength and as of right now is taking little to none of the pressure while firing the weapon, and all that excess pressure going into there is very evident because the mushrooming looks about double what it was this morning, and there's two big chunks completely missing from the lug.
So that's pretty much our best educated guess of why is this happening. That's not the over of the all bad things happening on that gun. During the shooting, what we have noticed too, the front handguard was basically walking out from the receiver. The gap was growing between the receiver and the handguard. Right now, as you can see, it's extremely tight and it's back to its place. I don't know why is this happening, but this is something to watch for it as well. And this is just from 1,500 rounds down the pipe, which we put together with Tim.
Well, guys, I must say I learned a little bit about my rifle that I didn't know previously. You know, we used to think that this rifle was actually holding up pretty well because I never took the time to clean it or lubricate it. So this thing, you can still see some remnants of the carbon that was running down the sides of the gun. I mean, I really ran the thing hard, mostly with the suppressor, which is why it has the muzzle device on it that it has. But once we cleaned this gun up, we started to notice signs of wear that simulates, or looks very similar, I should say, to the wear that you're seeing on your test rifle. So let's talk about what you're doing with this rifle. What is it that you're up to here?
Basically, we are in the almost middle, but it's past 3,500 rounds on this rifle, and the final goal will be 5,000 rounds down the pipe. And this is standard AK operators union test, endurance test for all the firearms. And Tim, what really strikes me down is your version of C39 version 2, that's the early example without the side rail. Mine is the newest model. I purchased that one last year. So you would think that some changes were made, because I cannot believe that the Century does not know what's happening inside those rifles. But the moment we started putting, you were coming closer and closer to the round count. What I have on this C39 version 2, it's almost amazing that the damage or deformations are almost identical on that right side of the receiver,
Right.
that locking shoulder. It's absolutely mind-blowing.
Now, my rifle's not doing as well as your rifle in some areas, and your rifle's not doing as well as my rifle in some areas. For example, I noticed on your bolt, we see some heavy deformation of one of the lugs, which we're not seeing that on my gun. I noticed that your tail on the back of your carrier is deforming. Mine's not. Mine seems to be harder. However, we're seeing the exact same wear on the secondary locking lug and little to no engagement on the primary locking lug. So we know the bolts are sitting in there
Absolutely.
cockeyed on both of these guns. And as you mentioned, I've probably had this gun now for 3 years or so. And of course, this is a newer generation gun, so it's quite interesting to see what's going on. So guys, what we're going to do is let Rob continue. I mean, we're not going to let him, he's going to do what he wants, but he's going to go ahead and do his 5,000 round test on his C39 V2. I'm going to wait and see what the outcome is. What I always tell you guys is it's always better to have, you know, more than one as a sample set. I can get a gun that can just be a lemon, but if I find another gun that has the exact same problems, now it's an issue that's, you know, more broad in
Yes.
spectrum. So what we're seeing so far actually is that these two different generational guns are experiencing the exact same problems.
And what is mind-blowing too, yours is closing already on a no-go gauge.
Yeah.
And that it's progressing because we have lost another dimensions. It's that bolt is closer and closer to close on a field gauge. In mine still is okay on the no-go gauge, but it's absolutely, you can see what's happening, and I can predict what's going to happen sooner or later with this firearm.
Now, have you had some of your viewers write you and tell you that they've actually grenaded their
Yes, there are both between RAS-47 and C39 version 2. There are examples which the rounds detonated outside the chamber, and unfortunately, it looks like the RAS-47 is more affected by it than the C39, but it's maybe because the RAS-47 is sold in a much larger, bigger numbers.
So it's kind of a misconception. And I apologize. I've contributed to that because I didn't thoroughly investigate what was going on inside my gun like you do in your test series. I saw your tests. I took mine out. We shot it suppressed one afternoon and said, "Look, guys, you know, ours is looking pretty good." But then when we cleaned it up and we started to look at stuff, it was starting to show signs of wear. Now, my gun, guys, is about to fail a field gauge. You do not want to fail a field gauge test. This one is just a few thousandths from failing it. Once it fails that test, the gun has the potential of blowing apart. And that means the top cover comes off and the magazine goes shooting out because the case will fire. In essence, a good chunk of that case is not supported by the chamber, and that all blows out and in essence turns the gun into a grenade. It can hurt the shooter. So in my next video, I may very well be wearing a full face shield because I'm going to be firing the thing and I don't want to catch stuff into my face. But yeah, so it is concerning, and I apologize, guys, because I didn't thoroughly investigate this. I didn't do it until you started your test on this. Then I wanted to go back and look at mine again, and lo and behold, there are problems I just didn't see because I didn't look hard enough.
It's really, I mean, everyone, we all treat a case like zero maintenance, and you just
Right.
keep them running. So if you don't pay attention and don't look really inside to the guards, you may get taken by surprise one day. So basically the message to you guys is, if you happen to have a C39 version 2 or RAS-47, I'm begging you, you don't have to listen to us, okay? Like, we don't like those rifles, but do the checking, check your rifles, check the guards, how they're looking like for your own safety, because this is all about it. We want to have, safe sport and everyone enjoy it.
The easiest way to do it, guys, is just pick up a field gauge. It's called a field gauge. There's go gauges, no-go gauges, but the real telltale gauge, which is a military standard, is a field gauge. If a gun fails a field gauge test, the gun is dangerous to shoot. You can pick those gauges up on places like brownells.com. They're not all that expensive. Sometimes they can be hard to find in 7.62 by 39. But if you own one of these rifles, the RAS-47 or the C39V2, like Rob said, please invest in a set of gauges if you shoot it a lot, and make sure that your rifle's safe before you take it out and shoot it. So, Rob, I really appreciate you coming out here. You've enlightened me. And again, I must apologize to my audience because I thought this rifle was doing better than it was. I just didn't clean the gun. It was just literally caked in carbon, and we both looked at it
Yeah,
last time you were here, and we thought, wow, this thing's actually doing pretty good, mostly because the bolt and carrier looked fairly good.
Absolutely.
But when we investigated deeper, it's like, holy smokes, man, chip that carbon away. I have that secondary locking shoulder cracking. Right.
It's mind blowing. And as I said,
So-
that carbon, unfortunately, it's like camouflage.
Yeah.
It camouflages everything out. You really have to scrap it off, and then the truth is coming out.
And the easiest way to tell guys is pick up a no-go gauge
Yep.
and check it. So guys, thank you for watching. If you have not already subscribed to Rob's channel, it is the AK Operators Union. I'm sporting a
there you go.
swag. He's not wearing a Mac shirt. But swing by, check him out, sub his channel. He has a lot of good information. And we greatly appreciate the support, guys. If you'd like to support us here at the Military Arms Channel, a great way to do that is just to swing by coppercustom.com. And we have a lot of great products at great prices. Plus, we have an auction site that's up. And in 2018, we're looking forward to auctioning off some of the video guns so you guys can have them. This won't be one of them because I don't want to auction off a hand grenade. But anyway, guys, we really appreciate you watching. This is our 10th year. We were celebrating our 10th anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Thanks, man. And let's hope, here's to another 10 years, guys. Thanks to you for watching. We couldn't have done it without you. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you, guys.